In this tutorial, you use DynamicPDF's online designer to create a report using a template. In the last tutorial, we used a template to create a page. What we did was we used a pre-existing form, loaded it as a template, and then we added our own fields that overlaid the PDF template form. Another thing you can do is reports, and you can add a template to a report, and it's really cool. What it does is it will add that template down to the bottom section where you have the header, the footer, and the details. It'll add that template to that, and you can use that template as the background for the actual report that you're going to create. The DynamicPDF Cloud API is a set of REST endpoints for creating and modifying PDF documents. You can also use it to get metadata about those documents. It's easy to use, it's efficient and scalable, globally available, and secure. Key features include an online document report designer, merging, stamping, and adding barcodes to PDFs, form-filling PDFs and retrieving form-filled information, converting images to PDF, encrypting and securing PDFs, retrieving text, XMP, and other information. We also have an online tool called Designer that makes creating PDF documents from a report template easy and straightforward, and you can call our REST APIs directly using your own client API or a tool like curl, or you can select one of our client APIs that make calling the REST endpoint easier. We have one in C#, Java, Node.js, and PHP. Get up and running quickly using the DynamicPDF Cloud API. Our online designer, the REST APIs, and client libraries make it easy to add PDF capabilities to your applications. The DynamicPDF Cloud API consists of the following endpoints: DLEX layout, image info, PDF info, PDF text, PDF XMP, and PDF. Let's get started with the tutorial by navigating to the tutorials documentation online. Select Docs, Tutorials, Designer, create a report using a template. This tutorial creates a PDF report using a pre-existing PDF template. In the last tutorial, create a page using a template, we used a PDF template to complete a form using a page element. As this tutorial will illustrate, using a PDF template combined with a report to create a PDF is a powerful technique for creating professional appearing PDF reports using DynamicPDF Cloud API's Designer Online. Let's navigate to the required resources. From Cloud Storage, we're going to need to use the Resource Manager to create the Creating a Report Template Designer folder to our Samples folder. So we need to add that sample to our project. Let's go ahead and log in. And if you don't have an account, you can sign up for a free account, but we're going to assume you have an account. So go ahead and log in. This takes us to the Environment Manager. Select Manage Resources. Click on Samples. Then click the Add Samples button. And this opens the Samples dialog. And select Create a Report using a template. OK. And it loads the sample folder and its files to your cloud storage space. Click on the folder, and you can see we have an invoice.dlex, invoice.json, and an invoice.pdf. The invoice.pdf is our template. Before we do anything, let's double click on the dlex file to open it in Designer to see what we're going to create. Okay, we have a report with a template added to it, and let's run it. And there's the report with the data in it. Close it and return to Designer. Now let's close Designer. Now, since we're going to do this from scratch, right-click on invoice.dlex and delete the file. Now right-click anywhere in that pane and select Add dlex and type in invoice.dlex. Double-click to open it in Designer, and it loads a blank dlex file. Let's make sure we have our data first. Now remember, because invoice.json is the same name as invoice.dlex, it knows to also load the JSON data. So let's go ahead and open the Layout Data Editor. And there's our data. Now note, we have a whole bunch of data here. Let's get rid of most of it because in this tutorial later on, we're going to show the difference between a single page report versus a multiple page. So let's go ahead and paste to Notepad most of these records and just keep it off to the side for now. Okay, let's save it now. We need to save the JSON data since we've modified it. Now select Add Report to create a new report. Okay, we need to change the report's data to, what is it? It's orders, because orders is the repeating data fields in the report. So that's what we want to assign it as the data name. Now select the template, and over in the properties, you'll see a template properties, and there you'll see the path. So click click the three dots to open the file manager and select invoice.pdf. Okay, it adds the template. Now scroll down and there we go. Notice that it added the template to the report section. It's not formatted very well, but we'll fix that in just a minute. Set the report's left and right margin to 36 in the Layout Explorer. Let's format the template so that the header, details, and footer sections all align properly with the template's layout. Resize the header so its height is 275. Resize the footer so its height is 38. Resize the details so its height is 18. Now let's add order ID as a record box and position it next to the order ID in the template. Add order date, customer ID, ship date, and shipped via data elements to the invoice as record box element. For each element, assign the X value as 437. Assign 10, 25, 40, 55, and 68 as the Y values for each element. Set the width for order ID, order date, customer ID, shipped date, and shipped via to 100. Create a record area and add the billing elements to the invoice and do the same for the shipping elements. So go ahead and right click and select record area to add the record area. Go ahead and resize the record area. And let's see, we need to add bill name, bill address, bill city, bill state, bill zip. And of course, when we create a record area, we can embed fields by adding the pound signs. So by adding the pound signs, it's kind of like Cold Fusion. Let's resize the properties pane so we can see the entire text box. Now we need to add the shipping information. Resize the record area here and add ship name, ship address, ship city, ship state, ship zip. Okay, let's go ahead and run it to see how it looks. And let's see, it looks up here at the top. We should probably bump up all the fields for the order ID, order date, customer ID, ship date, ship via. They're a little off, so let's bump them up each a little bit. So now let's add the details information. Now let's add quantity to the details section. Change the quantities record box to be right aligned. Add description and resize it so it fits. Add unit price to the invoice and set its alignment to right. We also want to set the data format as currency. So $, pound, 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 0.00. Add a new record box in the space on the template below price and set its alignment to right, and also make it a currency. Okay, let's move over the properties so we can see it a little better. And then let's enter the expression multiply quantity unit price, and we add that to the data name field. For quantity description, unit price, and price, set the x values of the elements as 4, 64, 364, and 454, and the y values as 2. Set the widths as 52, 292, 82, and 82. Set the heights as 14. Now let's add freight to the footer and format the element as currency. So let's move freight over here to freight, right align it and make it currency. Let's resize the properties pane so we can see the entire text box. Now add a record box to the subtotal. Right align it and make it currency. And now let's add the expression sum multiply quantity unit price. Add another record box for total. Right align it and make it currency. And let's assign it the expression add freight, sum, multiply, quantity, unit price. Change so the alignment matches price. For all three fields, change the X to 454 and the width to 82. Generate the report, and the PDF reflects the report's data. But notice, in this example so far, the JSON data only generates a single page report. Obviously, in many reports, there's going to be more than one page of data. Let's add the JSON data back to the report so it generates a multi-page PDF. Go ahead and open Notepad and let's add those records back to the JSON data. Save the JSON data. And close the Layout Data Explorer. Now let's generate the PDF, and the data is repeated across multiple pages. But one thing to notice is that at the bottom of each page for the footer, it calculates the subtotal, freight, and total. It would be kind of nice if we only did it for the last page. So let's go ahead and do that by creating a conditional footer. Select the footer, and from the context menu, select a new conditional footer. Okay, the footer's blank now. So we already added all those fields to our regular footer. So go ahead and return to the default footer and select all the fields we just added to the footer. Control X. Now return to the conditional footer and just do Control V to paste them. With the conditional footer selected, go over to the layout pane and in the condition property, add last page. Generate the PDF, and this time the footer's values only appear in the last page. So in this tutorial, we use several advanced features available when creating a report. First, we added a template to the report, and the template overlies the report section, and it's divided into 3 sections. The top third of the template is the header, the middle third is the details, and the bottom third is the footer. When generating the report repeats the template section depending on if it is the header, the details, or the footer. We resize the actual section dimensions to the template's true dimensions. We then added the appropriate data fields to the relevant report sections. And of course, we used expressions. Expressions allow you to create reports that include functions that enable performing math, string manipulation, and data summarization. Now in this example, we added 2 values to calculate a line item amount, summed the amount to calculate a total, and then added freight to it to create a final total amount. So as you can see, using a template with a report is a very powerful way of creating a professional-looking report. I'm James, Developer Evangelist at DynamicPDF, reminding you, when you think PDF, think Dynamic PDF Cloud API. See you next time.